All right. Let's take a look at Hailey, the new Descendant. So just how good is she really? Oh, there we go. She's an absolute fucking monster. Now, let's look at why. She is, as you can see, a boss dealer, a heavy, hard-hitting, like almost one-shot build boss dealer. And this does work for all the different bosses. I'm just showcasing Pyro here, but she does wreck a lot of the other bosses. So what we're looking at, if we look at her skills, right? The first thing that we're doing is we're activating our 3. What our 3 is doing is it's building up stacks on us. For every stack that we accumulate up to 16 stacks, we get 2.5% skill and firearm critical hit rate. And then we also get 20% skill and firearm critical hit damage. But we're mainly doing this for the skill in this one-shot boss build, but it will also work. She is a really good, I don't want to say replacement for Enzo, but she does a similar thing with buffing firearm damage as well. Now, there also is the option to use the 1 to apply stacks of cryo, which gives a 50% damage debuff on an enemy. But we're also, for the bossing clip that you just saw, we're using the 2, which is the storm snare, which is hugely buffed by skill power times 8,900. And this also applies cryo on the boss as well, so it's also debuffing. But this does a huge chunk. I think in the clip we did like 14.5 million damage, followed by 1 shot of our ult, which is what we pull out afterwards. And this gives us 4 shots by default, so we have a lot of damage with the ult as well. And the base damage here, it says same as equipped weapon. And it also takes the 4 shots by default goes up to 6, 7, or 8. 8 is the highest that I've gotten by using a weapon with a large magazine and a weapon with magazine mods on it. So I actually don't think the magazine like of the base gun itself matters, but the mods definitely do, similar to Lepic and the fire rate mods being used. So what are we using here? We're building this very similar to our Lepic. So we're using 4 crit mods: emergency measures, front lines, skill concentration, and skill insight. And then we're using 3 main mods to give us our skill power damage. So we're using chill specialist, spear and shield for the 8.1% skill power, and glacial syncytium for an additional 10.2% skill power. Now, we are using dangerous ambush. I did test multi-talented, and dangerous ambush seemed to be way more consistent, especially if you're going for the one-shot boss build. Multi-talented will be better if you're not going for this cheeky one-shot boss build. You can use kind of whatever you want. She does have some flexibility here. Now, when it comes to this, right, this is not necessary. Her skill power modifiers are already so high that these are additive. So that singular skill power modifier 68.2 is adding to that 3627 that you see. It is adding to that 8,900 that you see. So it's going to provide a very low increase in damage, very few percentage, if 1% at all. I was mainly using this for the cooldown and messing around, but I think ultimately I'm going to take this out and I'm going to slot in a cooldown mod and a skill cost mod. And I think this is really where this character stands out among Lepic, is even though she actually kind of does more burst damage than Lepic, she is a little bit slower to get the shots off because she's stationary and has to get into stance here. Whereas Lepic, you can activate your ability and roll and be moving while you're using it. But with her, if you slot a cooldown mod and you slot a skill cost mod, the skill cost mod will help you keep your 3 up for much longer, and the cooldown mod will allow you to literally spam your 1, 2, and your 4. But mainly here with this build, we're looking at the 2 and the 4. So you can do what you saw me do with Pyro, and then less than 30 seconds later, you can do it again. So you can be a really, really, really good, you don't have to jump off the map, you don't have to get your abilities back. This becomes a really, really good bosser. In my opinion, Hailey is an S tier bosser. I'm not going to say she replaces Lepic, but she's very, very strong, and I think she's really fun, and she's cool, and the sniper feels powerful. I just think she feels good to use. Now, when it comes to what we're using, so we're using Greg's only because Greg's matches the reactor here. So you want to farm a reactor that has chill and singular skill power. This week it only rolls with special rounds, and you want to get, just like Lepic, in my opinion, Colossus damage and crit damage. Now I do have one with crit damage and I do have one with Colossus damage, and I tested both. The one with Colossus damage is way stronger and hits way harder because that adds that skill power to your raw skill power before multiplying everything in. So it just is a really good multiplier to add into your build, whereas the crit damage is just going to be increasing those crits. But ideally you want crit damage and Colossus damage, and you will be even way stronger than what you saw me. As for what you want for your components, the Slayer set is a really good option. There's probably some other options that I haven't tested yet with some of the Frost sets, but the Slayer set is really good because it's 26.1% skill power. The only downfall is the skill cost, but it's not a big deal, especially if you run a skill cost mod. By the way, the skill cost mod that I would run would probably be maximize conservation, and then the cooldown mod would probably just be like nimble fingers or something like that. Yeah, most likely is what I would do. But you want MP recovery as well if you're going to be in team fight specifically. So MP recovery is always really good to have, and then having some really good defense. And yeah, I think that's all that really matters. But yeah, I mean, she is fantastic. And you can see here are the base stats. And when you pop that, what is it? Her 3, you actually will see this number climb up to 100%. And you'll also see your skill critical hit rate climb up to 100%. So, I mean, you are pretty much guaranteeing that as long as an enemy doesn't have some sort of defense, like buff or some sort of what am I trying to say here, like crit resilience, which a lot of bosses do. So even though it might say 100, you're not going to hit every crit, but you're going to hit a lot. And as for the weapon, I mean, I just do way more damage with my Greg's here because it matches my reactor. I'm going to farm a reactor with a sniper like a piercing or afterglow and see if it does more damage, but it's just impossible for me to test that right now because there's no high power ammo reactor. But this is the general idea behind Hailey. She is really, really good, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy her. We can take her into another fight here. Let's go to Dead Bride. Actually, I'll just do this for another video. But thank you guys for watching, and enjoy Hailey. Peace.